with Alcorn State head coach Cedric Thomas. Coach, the first question is year one. What was the biggest learning experience year one being the head coach at Alcorn State?
You know, that I had to let the kids kind of, set the culture, and I couldn't push, my culture on them, even though as a coordinator, I was already there. But just kind of letting them guys, be who they are. And just letting them kind of hash out, some of the things. Some of my implementation wasn't best, for that football team, with the likes of Malachi and Steve and Truck. Those guys kind of had a major component. But now, it's Spotsville team, it's Eric Thomas team, it's all those guys. And so I got to let them guys kind of, lead the leadership committee and, just put them in the best position to be successful.
When you look at last year's team, what were one or two position groups that you felt like you guys needed to take the biggest step forward in 2025 compared to where y'all were in 24?
At the offensive tackle position and at the wideout position. We're definitely more explosive, out there with some transfers that we brought in. And then, the reassurance of Tyron Warner be better. But we got two big-time tackles, man. If they stay healthy, we're going to have a chance with anybody. Andre Barton from UTEP and, Chavez, Taylor from Southern Miss via East Mississippi. Those guys will really help us. And Jackson Pickett played a lot as a true freshman out there. And, we're returning the inside guys, which are good. But those two tackles are really going to help us the most. And then the next one will be the core inside. Roscoe Malloy, East Mississippi transfer, Deshaun Palmer, Colin transfer. Will really, give Spotsville opportunity to kick on the edge and not just be, as a three technique.
When you look at the quarterback spot, what do you want to see from these guys throughout fall camp before you name a starter? And what's the timeline looking like of when you want to name a guy? Well, even if it's not public, just in the locker room so they know who to look to.
Yeah, the sooner the better for me, Zach. I want to see him lead. I want to see him lead, but I want to see him deal with adverse situation. It's fine when you're throwing touchdowns and you the guy and social media, claiming that you X, Y, and Z. But what's going to happen when the guys are not playing well? When the lineman miss a block or protection is wrong or the defense give up a touchdown and all that, we'll be able to see in practice, and that's the biggest thing I want to see. Some of these crowds, man. I mean, you know the atmosphere. 40,000 going crazy. They screaming, they trolling you. But are you gonna have your wits without you? Keep your wits within you to be able to put the offense in the best position to be successful and have a next play mentality.
You're a defensive guy. I know you pay a lot of attention to that defense. Who's the next breakout star? Obviously, Malachi's gone. You talked about Spotsville. We know what Stamarian is, but who's the next breakout superstar for that defense?
I think it's going to be Eric Thomas, and I think it's going to be Deshaun Palmer. I mean, you're talking about Deshaun Palmer give you Sterling Shippey vibes, inside, and then Eric Thomas he give you Claude Cherry-Loose vibes, really wiry, physical, athletic, can play in space. And so those are the two that I feel like, just going to really take us to the next level.
How do you get your team? Because I think you guys came in with a lot of expectations, right? Voted number one in the preseason poll last year. Do you feel that kind of switch, and do you feel like it's a little bit easier for you as a head coach to put a chip on your guys' shoulder this year?
Not really. When you look at all them trophies in the Business Act, that speaks for itself. So for them, the pressure is there because they want to raise that trophy, and they know what the people before has laid the foundation for them. It's just right now nobody's on our roster that was a part of that besides coaches, and so we got to help them, navigate through those the waters of being a champion. And so those guys know it's their way of life to be a champion, and we got to help them. And so we're excited about helping them transition to raise that trophy.
When you look at the secondary, you talked a lot about, especially in your signing day press conference, and we've talked off camera, you wanted to get bigger, taller, longer in the secondary. Talk a bit about that approach and how you got to that conclusion, and then how you went to your staff and said, this is what we need, and if it doesn't check that box, we can't recruit that guy.
Yeah, I looked at what Southern, I basically took the two champions, from the West and the East and said, okay, let's pull A two deep, from every position, Zach, just not the secondary, but since we're talking about it, and I looked at their DBs and looked at their skill sets, looked at their huddle and their highlight tapes, and I told my guys, hey, look, that's what we want. We got to be able to have these type guys if we plan on making that championship run. And the guys did that. You look at Patrick Kent's, a 6'2" corner that's athletic, that can run. You look at, Tavon Haney, that played for us last year, that's 6 foot, that's athletic, he can run. TJ Jasper from Monticello, 5'11", physical. So we got some guys, to be able to come in that's a lot bigger, to be able to help some of these athletic wideouts that everybody in this league have.
Everyone talks about what it takes to get over the precipice and win that championship. The East has been winning a lot in the SWAC. When you look at the West, What has been the, I would say, differing factor on like why some of these West teams can get to the championship and just haven't been able to get over the hump in the past few years?
Just the trenches. It's just the trenches. I think that's the biggest thing. But just talking to T. Graves, that game probably 13-10, and then they got 4 turnovers, and so you got to take care of the football so they in the game. But so was the question you got to ask, was those turnovers forced or was those unforceable turnovers? And so both of them can be answered either way. But the biggest thing is those trenches. We got to everybody, especially on that eastern side, man. You talking about Fam, you talking about Jackson. Those guys are really big, physical, and even Alabama State, in the trenches. And so we want to mimic that and make sure our roster, is compatible to them.
Last question, Coach. How settlement has kind of changed the trajectory of college sports. The SWAC decided not to set a scholarship cap limit. How is Alcorn approaching that? I mean, are you guys going to increase past that 63-player range? Are you looking to stay about the same? How are y'all approaching this new age of college athletics?
We try to get as many as we can, and we got, 63 for 85, but what's helping us now, we got a lot of guys that's on 0.5 because they graduates. And so we're really, right now, it's probably the most scholarship kids we've had. In a long time, and so we way past that 63 standpoint, and you can tell by the roster. When you look at the roster, we're 3 deep right now, barring no injuries, where we can go out and play with functional bodies, not just names, but when I pull a PFF up, those guys have played 150 snaps, 200 snaps, whether in Division II, Division I AA, or Division I, and so that's going to give us a chance.